Hello there, it's Alana Tuckey, lead faculty for Math 131, and I'm back to share some more calculator instructions and knowledge with you. Now in this particular set of video, we are going to be learning how to enter statistical data into our calculator and then how to make a scattergram from that data. Alright, so we have this problem right up here that has years of education right here and the scores on a prejudice test right here. So let me go pull up the calculator. And I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, oh, that's table, right? And I know where table is because we dealt with that in chapter 1. It's right here above the graph button. And you're not wrong. It's just that that table isn't what you think it is. Let me go to it so you can see. If I press second table, you can see I have all these values in there, but they're not the values we're wanting. I mean, it's not 12 and 5 and 14. It's all this other stuff. Well, that's because it's based off of this y equals button. So whatever equation I have in there, that's where the table is coming from. Remember, these buttons on the top kind of all go together. So that table is dealing with that y equals. They're tied together. But that's not what we want. What we're trying to do is enter a table of our own values, not a table based off of some algebraic equation, which is what this is. Algebraic, by the way, just means it has an x in it, right? Or a variable in it of any kind. All right, so that's not what we want at all. So let me get out of here. Quit. Second quit. All right, I need to go to a place where I can enter statistics because that's what this is. Real life data is called statistics. Okay. Now, if you notice, I said it that way on purpose. There's a button here called Stat. So if you press that, it takes you to the statistical menu. Now, in 131, we actually don't do a ton in here. We're going to be working with edit a lot, but the rest of these we don't really play around with in 131 very much. And then there's, if you go to the right, there's this whole calculate menu. And again, we don't do a ton in here. We do number 4 in particular. And then tests we don't ever play with in 131. That's other stuff. If you take statistics anywhere along the line, you'll learn about a whole bunch of those other ones that we do not work with in our course. All right, so I want to edit. I want to get to the editor. All right, so the editor is going to look like a table, and I can either do that. You can see how it's dark. That means it's highlighted. So I could just press enter and it'll happen automatically like magic. Or I could press number 1. So if I press number 1 happens. There it is. All right, so then I'm going to enter my data. So I've got 12, enter, 5, enter, 14, enter, 13, enter. You can see where this is going, right? So you enter all your values. It's tedious, but you do it. And then you need to get over to the right to the second column to enter your y values. So you go to the right, so you press the right arrow, and then it's going to take you to the top of the L2 values. L, by the way, stands for list. List 1, list 2, and so on. And they're right in whatever color, my calculator, they're blue. They're right above the 1, the 2, the 3, and so on. So that's a hotkey way to get to them. We'll talk about that later. They won't let you edit it, but you can play around. All right, so 1, enter, 7, enter, 2, enter, 3, enter. And there you go. They're all in. All right, so I'm going to clear this screen because you don't really need to see all these keystrokes again. All right, so there they are. They're all entered in. That is how you enter data into a calculator. Suppose you go, oh no, it wasn't 2, it was 20. Then you just kind of move up with your up arrow and you can type 20. Oopsie, I just typed 0. How about 20? There we go. Now it's fixed. Or go, oh no, I didn't want 20, I want 2. So you can go up and press 2, enter. The standard is to overwrite. So it will write over whatever you have. Now, just on a side note, a lot of times we want to get rid of, let's say you're on your next problem and you're like, I don't want these numbers at all. Ugh. So what you do, if you want to clear out all of it, right, you want to get rid of all this stuff, you go to the top where it says L2 and you do not press delete. Hear me? You press clear. Just think of it. I want to clear it out, right? Clear, enter, and it's all gone. That's how you clear out data so that you can enter new data, right? All right, but I actually didn't want to clear it out, so let me type it back in. There we go. All right, so we don't need to see that, so I'm going to press clear key history. Got my other program fighting me there. All right, so I've got them in, and that's all we wanted to know how to do for that. So we've entered data, we've learned how to enter data. By the way, you don't have to do it all in L1 and L2. I mean, you can use L3, there's L4 over here, L5, and L6. And then you could actually start making up columns on your own if you like. they call them blank, and then you have to type in a name. But almost always we're good with L1 through L4 is enough for us. We generally 90% of the time work with just L1 and L2, but in chapter 3 in particular, sometimes we like L3 as well. So, there you go. All right, so L1 and L2, they're our friends. We've learned how to enter data in. Everything's great. You actually have also learned how to clear data out of there. Sorry, I paused there because I actually wanted to add in that clear data note because I think that's a good one. All right, so now we need to know how to make a scattergram. Okay, cool. So let me go to my calculator again. All right, so there's a quick way to do this, and then there's kind of a longer way to do it. So let me go to the quick way. So you type y equals, or press y equals, excuse me, and then you clear out this equation. You don't really need that equation in there. It's not interesting to you, whatever. That was an algebraic equation. And then I move up where the plot 1 is. See that? And see how my cursor is blinking on it? And then if I press enter, it's still blinking, but it's dark. And now when I move off, you can see it's still dark, right? Well, that's great. That's what we want. Okay. So now I've got my scattergram on. So I press graph. Oh no, that's terrible. So I've got the scattergram, but it's doing a terrible job of showing it to me because my window is not good. We've run into window before. And I don't think I mentioned it here in the instructions. Oh yes, I did, right there. So the best way, rather than to press graph, is to press zoom 9. Zoom. And again, these menus are hotkeyed, so they will work automatically if you just press the number, but let me just remind you which one zoom 9 is. Zoom 9 is ZoomStat. Stat being where we entered the stuff, right? We entered the stuff into stat. As a matter of fact, what you're doing when you turn on plot 1 is you're turning on a stat plot. It's right above the y equals button. Right? So if you're putting in a stat plot, you want ZoomStat because it'll fit to the data you entered. So if I press number 9 or enter because I've got it dark. So once you move down there, once it's dark, you can press enter on it, or you could just press the number 9 and it'll automatically happen. Shwing. There it is. A perfectly beautiful scatter plot, just like that. Okay, so again, I went to y equals, I went up and pressed enter to turn on the stat plot, so it was dark. Now if I press enter now, it'll turn it off, because now when I move away, see how it's not dark anymore? That means that it's not on, right? So if I go up and press enter, then it is on, right? So stat plot number 1 is on. And then I press zoom 9, and automatically I get this perfect window. Now the zoom 9 thing only works if you have the stat plot on. So if you have the stat plot off and you try to do zoom 9, it's not going to work. It is here because it's already made it, but then it's no screen. And then students come to me and go, my calculator's broken, it's broken. I say, no, it's not. Right? You go to y equals and you go, wait a second, you don't have a scattergram on. You're literally telling your calculator to graph nothing. There's nothing in here to graph. So if you go up to plot 1, turn it dark, then when you graph it, I don't have to do zoom 9 again because I've already set up the window. There it is. All right, now what is this plot thing that we're turning on anyway? What is that? Well, if you look above the y equals, let me clear my history here. Second y equals, that's the stat plots menu. There are actually 3 different stat plots that your calculator can do. It can do number 1, plot 1, that's what you were turning on. See how it's on? And then 2 and 3 are off. And what they're telling you is it's making a scatter plot with L1 and L2, and those are the kind of marks it makes, which is generally what we want in this course anyway. But if you want to adjust it, you can press number 1 or enter because that's already dark. If you press down, it'll take you to number 2, press down, it'll take you number 3, and so on. Right? And there's more stuff in here. But again, we don't generally muck around with most of this stuff. We only usually want plot 1. So you go to number 1, and you'd say, yep, I want it on, so I'd press enter on that so it's on, although I don't have to in this case because it already is. This is the kind of weird thing. You would think to get to these graphs, you kind of have to press down, but down takes you to the X list, right? So you go right, like if you want a bar chart, you can press enter on that. We almost always are using this scatter plot guy right here in the front So you press enter on him. He's dark, so he's on. We almost always, but not always, want L1 and L2 for our X list and Y list. But if you ever wanted L3, let's say I want L1 and L3, you'd press second 3, enter, and it'd make it L3 for your Y list. I don't. I want L2, so I'd go second 2, enter. And the little boxes, I think, are by far the easiest to see, so I tend to leave them as the little box thing. If ever you want one of the other ones, you just press right to get to it and press enter on it. And then it'd be making little pluses. So let me show you how that would look. See? Little pluses. The little dot one in particular is really hard to see. So if I press that and go down, 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 the little itty bitty dot ones are really hard to spot. Right? So you gotta kind of squint at them. So, or maybe I just do because I'm old. You never know. All right, so I prefer the boxes, sometimes the pluses, but I think the boxes are the best. And there we go. Now you guys know how to make a scattergram and how to enter your data. Couple things. Don't forget, you don't really have to play around in the StatPlot menu. If it's set up correctly, then it's pretty much fine for the rest of the course. But the way to turn it on quickly is to go up and press enter. That turns it off. Up and press enter. That turns it on. And don't forget, when you're entering your data into your stats edit menu, if you type over any number, like 10, enter, it turns that number into 10. If you want to clear out the data, then you have to go to the top where it says L2 and it tells you all the values for the whole list, and press clear, enter, like that. All right, I think that's everything. Let me double check. That's everything we wanted for this video. So we've learned how to enter our statistical data and how to make a scattergram quickly. We learned about Zoom 9 in particular, very nice, but it only works if your plot menu is on. If you don't have plot 1 dark, it won't work. And then we also learned about this more advanced StatPlot menu, which hopefully we won't have to do too much with in the course of the course. All right, I hope that helps. See you later.